Hey, a few days ago, I got a request from a friend for my YouTube channel. So let me read this out loud. Hey Sandy, I have a special request for your YouTube show. Do you think it will be beneficial for you to talk about RRSP and TFSA withdrawal for non-tax resident Canadians or people on work permit? So in this video, I would like to talk about the details about the implication for RRSP and TFSA for non-Canadian citizen and non-Canadian permanent residents. Remember, if you have lots of questions or you have any burning question you want me to answer for you, comment below or subscribe my channels and I'll be able to make a video especially for you to answer the questions. My name is Sandy Gum. I'm the Insurance and Private Equity Advisor, and in this episode of Real Money, Real Talk, I will talk about the RRSP rules and TFSA rules for non-Canadian residents and non-Canadian permanent residents. Both RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plans, and Tax-Free Savings Plan, TFSAs, are registered accounts. To be eligible to open for these two accounts, first you need to be a Canadian resident, and second you need to have a valid SIN number. SIN number, SIN, is a social insurance number. Once you have SIN number, you will then need to define whether you are a status of Canadian resident. You may be considered a non-resident for tax purposes if you meet either one of the following conditions. Normally, you will have routinely live in another country and are not considered a resident of Canada. You may also do not have a residential ties in Canada, and either one of the following situation applies to you. You live outside Canada throughout the tax year, or you stay in Canada for less than 183 days in the tax year. Even if you no longer live in Canada, you may have residential ties in Canada that are sufficient for you to be considered factual or deemed resident of Canada. In these cases, the regular rules for opening a TFSA or RRSP still applies. Residential ties include a home in Canada, a spouse or common law partners or dependents in Canada, personal property in Canada such as car or furniture, or social ties in Canada. There are also other ties that may be relevant, and you can check out the CRA website, which I will include in the description below. So in summary, the question is, if you are on work permit or as an international student, can you apply for RRSP and TFSA? Now, according to the CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, yes, you're able to apply as long as you have a valid SIN number and you reside in Canada. The question is, you maybe get different answers from different financial institutions, and that depending on the financial institution internal decisions. Another common question is that what's going to happen to your RRSP and TFSA when you become non-resident? So what's going to happen is that if you already contributed RRSP or TFSA while you were Canadian residents, when you apply for non-resident, these contributions do not go disappear. You can continue to hold the existing RRSP and TFSA. However, you do not able to gain additional contribution room for both TFSA and RRSP. If you're a foreign worker or a new immigrant or international student, for TFSA specifically, your contribution rooms can only be accumulated at the time when you become a Canadian resident. For example, in 2018, if you become a Canadian resident, you can accumulate 5,500 contribution room for TFSA. Let's say you stay with that status and you're still Canadian residents in 2019. You get additional 6,000, which means you have a total contribution room for 11,500. But let's say in 2020 you decide to leave Canada, maybe to work in a different country. You become a non-resident, which means your contribution room will stay as 11,500 and you will not get that additional 6,000 from 2020. Now you may wonder what happened to that 11,500 in this particular example. That contribution room does not disappear. You can still contribute it even though when you become non-residents. You do not get additional contribution room when you become non-resident. If you do contribute that 11,500 for the contribution room, what's going to happen is you will be taxed at 1% per month if you contributed to the contribution room as a non-resident. Just to summarize, using this same example, if you contribute $11,500 while you're a Canadian resident, then you will not be taxed 1%. You can keep it as it is and you can withdraw later on. However, if you actually contributed while you became a non-resident, then you will get taxed for 1% per month. On the other hand, for RSP is different than TFSA. TFSA, you get additional contribution room every year by the government. But RSP is specifically tied to your income. So while you're working in Canada as a Canadian resident, the contribution room will tie into your income, which is typically 18% of your annual income up to a limit in that year. If you become a non-resident, then because you don't pay tax in Canada, obviously in that case, then you will not gain the contribution room in RSP. RSP, on the other hand, works differently. RSP ties to your Canadian income, and because it ties to your Canadian income, when you become a non-resident, contribution room does not grow and there's no meaning to actually put more money into RSP, as it does not decrease your tax because you're not doing tax report in Canada. But what's going to happen when you withdraw the money from RSP? When you withdraw money from RSP while you are a non-Canadian resident, then the tax will be depending on the tax treaty from the country you reside in and between Canada. For example, if you work specifically in USA, there is a tax treaty between USA and Canada. When you withdraw the money from your RSP, you will get the withholding tax, and also you will also get a tax credit where you can declare back to USA IRS, which is a tax agency in USA. Now, every country works very differently, so you will need to double check with the countries you reside in to know how you will deal with the exposure tax when you withdraw the RSP. If you want to find out a little bit more details about TFSA and RSP as a resident, you can check out my previous videos. Are you a foreign worker starting your career in Canada? Are you also a new immigrant or international student who wants to reside in Canada? If you like this video, please share and comment below. And if you find that you have friends who are in your situation or who are work permit maybe benefits from this video, please help me share the video as well too. Remember to subscribe my channel, and I look forward to see you next week.